Hello and welcome to the Gooner Talk. Back again with you guys for another episode of what is an Arsenal phone-in show. It is a phone-in show that I promised that I said I would be doing over the last couple of days or so, in the kind of fallout, if you like, to not only the defeat against Brighton, but of course also the situations beyond just that game, and the wider context to what it means for Arsenal's season. And the reaction that we've seen amongst supporters in the wake of that defeat as well. It is being a phone-in show. I lay out the rules. I'm pretty sure I have a ticker tape thing that I can put along the bottom, which also usually lays them out as well if I can find it, which I'll try to do so shortly. But basically, if you would like to come on the show, and I'll talk through kind of the mission statement, if you like, in a second. 18 plus, webcam, and a microphone, quiet place to record, and of course also a good internet connection, because no one likes listening to someone who's kind of fuzzy and robotic and sounding like a Dalek. So that would be very much appreciated as well. I think I pretty much tweeted the rules as well. So yes, there we go. I can now copy and paste that. I don't know why this wasn't done beforehand, but it should be there now. There it is. So yeah, 18 plus, have a good internet connection, quiet place, even though it says quiet place to record, great. Microphone as well, just edit that, and a good internet connection as well. Of course, a microphone and webcam are also appreciated. So if you could, right, so let me throw up the mission statement so you can kind of get your head around why we're doing this. Over the last couple of days or so, we've been talking about kind of the breakdown of everything. So here in 3 bullet points are my feelings that a lot of people, I say a lot of people, kind of the minority, I think, of the people that have watched the last couple of days of worth of shows have disagreed with. Firstly, Arsenal have, in my experience, and in my opinion, have experienced success this season through the evident progression that has been made. Arsenal, secondly, did not bottle the title. 2 key factors determine the outcome: injuries combined with Man City's industrial winning form and experience. And thirdly, Mikel Arteta is the best thing to happen to Arsenal in the last decade plus, and at this point in time is certainly capable of leading us towards a potential title. They are my 3 key statements. Now, I initially kind of want to hear from people that disagree with 1, 2, 3, as many of them as you like, to be honest, as many of these statements as you like. I'd love to hear from people that don't agree, because it creates debate, it creates discussion. I've left a link to the phone in the StreamYard. Now, what has tended to happen on some of these shows is that we've struggled. We've struggled with people that are willing, with people that want to come on the show, and or that are willing to kind of discuss that differing point of view for whatever reason. Now, when I put out a poll the other day, which might get brought up at some point in this show, 95% of people kind of sat on the side of things of which I share the view of. So we'll be patient at first, but if, of course, it happens that we don't have anyone that's too against these points of view, then we will obviously open up the call to hear from people that just want to voice their opinion on the season and voice their opinion. Now, what we're going to do off, I'm just going to read a couple of comments. I'm happy to say that we've got a caller in and callers waiting as well already, which is good news. You'll be glad to hear. Let's jump into the chat box and get a couple of points as well. Robert says, Tom, you've been appointed as the czar of all things Arsenal. What would be the one thing that you do to change and improve the team? Robert, thank you for your question. In short, sign that world-class midfielder. I think we have to add that world-class midfielder. That would be a priority for me this summer, and making sure that we can get it done, of course, as well. Right, let's bring in our first caller today. Elliot is going to join us. Elliot, how are you doing? You good? You well, my friend?
I am well, sir. How are you? How are you? How are you?
I'm very good. Now, Elliot, I do remember you joined me at the end of January, pretty angry at the signings of Jorginho and Trossard. Who can we admit that both of them did quite well in the end?
Well, outside of that little mishap by Trossard on that 3rd goal, let's be fair and frank, that was on him. But no, he did. I mean, listen, Jorginho has been a very good signing for us. Trossard as well. They helped keep our place. It's unfortunate that we had to have injuries and put us out of title contention finally as of this weekend. But these things happen, and it is very much hope that Arteta, Edu, and the Cronkies, do their due diligence and get that money out, and because we have the black card this summer, and so we have to make amends.
Absolutely. So, which of my three, or more than one, is it that you're kind of taking umbrage with, if you like?
Right. Let's see. Arsenal have experienced success this season through the evidence of progression made. Yes, they have success. They have succeeded. They have progressed. We have only asked for top 4.
Yeah.
And they have surpassed that.
Yeah. Go on, keep going.
They have surpassed that, and so they have succeeded in that assessment. Arsenal did not bottle the title. 2 key factors determined the outcome: injuries combined with Man City's industrial winning form and experience. Listen, you're absolutely right on that second point. Man City's a machine. I use this analogy where Man City is a Formula One car. Let's say a Red Bull. We are a pace car at the moment, and we had a very sizable lead. But sooner or later, if things start breaking down, we were going to get lapped, and that's exactly what happened in this instance. And we were going to get passed by the likes of Man City, who have 18 players of elite quality, and who eventually pipped us at the post. Our job right now is to build a squad that is elite. Unfortunately, by all accounts and intended purposes, Chaka will not be there next year. So that's another cog out of there. So we need 2 solid midfielders. So again, your second point is valid. It's a valid point. Third one, Mikel Arteta is the best thing to happen in Arsenal last decade plus, and at this point, certainly leading us and pointing towards the title. We are moving towards the title, yes. We are succeeding towards the title, but we need titles, and he only has 1 trophy in the last 4 years. So we're going into the 5th season now. So I want to see a trophied year. I think it's imperative on Arteta that he has to bring us some sort of silverware next season. If we do not see that, then his position is under review, in my estimation, and in the estimation of a lot of supporters out there.
Okay, fair enough. So let's create a hypothetical scenario. So next season, Arsenal again challenge for the title. Let's say they push Man City even closer than they did this time. Let's say it goes down to the last game of the season and we still miss out and we don't win a trophy. Are you still thinking Arteta's position is still under consideration?
We are here at this point. We want to, yes, I mean, listen, City. And we understand that. But the fact of the matter is he has got to put a lot more emphasis. Now, Champions League is one thing, but in terms of the FA Cup, in terms of the League Cup, he's got to put a lot more emphasis on those trophies. We have a bigger squad. We can go in there and we can really challenge for those titles, for that silverware. So I want to see a bigger effort. So if he does not have that sort of thing, yeah, I mean, his running of the squad has got to be called into question, quite simply. We're into our 5th season with only 1 trophy, and not many managers have the sort of trust that we've built into Arteta and still stay in the squad, stay in the team with only 1 trophy in the trophy cabinet. We have to that has to change as of next season. I think he's got to really go gung-ho at the League Cup and the FA Cup and really drive to make us, because we've gone out with a whimper the last few years. Tom, you and I know that we've gone out with a whimper, and and we cannot have that sort of a lack of success in these instances. Now he's a seasoned manager now. 5 years, you're not just a rookie. You're not just a guy walking in there and everything's new and shining, and you're totally taken aback by all things that come your way. You are an Arsenal manager. You're a manager of one of the biggest sides in the world. Yeah, you are to be a judge on a certain level of success. This is a very successful club. Domestically, absolutely not in Europe, but domestically, yes. And if we do not see those sort of titles come into the squad, then it has to be under review. Although you have progressed and you pulled them, you pulled City closer to the wire, that can be said. But listen, not only does Arteta have to be under review, but also the Cronkies have to be under review right here. They have to back their manager this summer. There's no doubt about that.
There's no doubt about that. I want to see a record summer spend this summer, and I want to see us getting our priority targets. I think that's Edu's mission. Beyond obviously improving our sales, which needs to improve, we have to get the players that we want, which is Declan Rice or Caicedo. One of those two has to come through the door for me. They're clearly the players that we want, and whoever it turns out to be our key defensive target or our key forward target, I don't really know if we know who those players are yet, but whoever we start hearing are being bidded on, we need to make sure that we're getting those players. So I agree with you. So to kind of round up the points, you agree that we have experienced success this season through the evidence of progression that we've made.
Relatively, yes.
We've not bottled the title, and that the Man City factor for you is the key reason why we didn't win it.
Indeed,
and thirdly, Mikel Arteta, do you agree is the best thing to happen to Arsenal in the last decade plus? Did you agree with that?
Yeah, I agree with that point. He has brought us back to prominence. Let's face facts. Let's call it spade a spade. He has brought us back to a level of respect, a level of prominence, and where we want to be, where we should be. We are now a title contending side, whether by hook or by crook. We are where we are. We are at the levels of a Liverpool. We are at the levels of a City. We are one of those title contending clubs, not only here but in the future. And it's up to Arteta to keep us there. And just going back to my last point, Edu's, his job is under review as well, because again, he needs to make a big signing this summer. There's no doubt about that. He has not made a big signing yet. Jesus, that was pretty much a just an easy one, or a mulligan, as they say in golf parlance, and I'm sure you know about that. And it's time that Edu gets in a big guy this summer. I mean, he missed out on Mudryk this in January. That was something that I don't know if the club or him, who dropped the ball, but at the end of the day, we didn't get our target. Although Trossard is a good addition, let me say that, but we need to see a big man coming through. Either Rice, Caicedo, or both have to be in the door this summer. If they do not, and we only see also Rans coming through the door, then Edu's job is under review as well.
Elliot, thank you so much, mate, for your time. I really appreciate it, my friend.
Good job. Keep up the good work, Tom, and I'll be listening. I gotta buy a cap. That's true.
You can buy a cap. That's a great promotion. Yeah, you can indeed do that. Lovely stuff. Thank you to Elliot. Really appreciate your time, my friend. Lovely stuff. Let's jump into the chat box. I actually had someone lined up who was coming on next, and then as soon as Elliot went, they disappeared off my screen, which is a shame. Hopefully they return. Let's jump into the chat box. I've just left a link. If you do want to join, if you do want to have your say, whether you would disagree with these mission statements, let me know. Az is back, I'm hoping. He is indeed. Az, how you doing, mate? You good, you well?
Not bad, sir. How are you?
Yeah, very good, thank you, mate. Very good, thank you. Talk to me. These kind of 3 points. Where's your head at?
Yeah, do you know what? I actually agree with you on the first and the third point. So I definitely think that Mikel Arteta is one for the future. Yeah, definitely. I mean, I can see him winning his titles if he's given the right sort of backing and the right kind of investment, obviously. I don't think I disagree with you on the second point. What I would say is we did bottle the league, but here's the thing. That word bottle has got negative connotations to it, and it's not really. It's not a bad thing if you bottle something. That's my opinion. I mean, too many people get hung up on saying, if you've bottled the league, it's negative, it's a bad thing. And in a way it is, but I think every success comes from an element of failure. You have to fail so you can learn from those mistakes and then improve, get better. So we did bottle it, but then that's going to happen when you have a young, inexperienced squad with a young, inexperienced manager. And I think given time, if we can keep that group of players together for a number of years, they will gain that experience from being title contenders. And eventually at some point we will win. I do think we need to add as well to that squad, maybe with a bit of experience as well, but I do think we have a good squad of players who in time will win titles. So yeah, we did bottle it, but you know what? I'm actually okay with that. As long as we improve, as long as we learn from it. I always said, and I think many of the more rational and logical Arsenal fans would agree with this, is the fact that this is always going to be a project, and like any project, it's not something that's going to be resolved within a year or a couple of years. It can take many years. And if you think of where we were 2 years ago and where we were last year, we've shown good improvement, and we came so close to winning it, which would have been well above expectations. So I'm convinced that if we buy the right squad players, and that's going to be crucial this summer, is getting in the right number of players and the right type of players, then I think we can go on and win. I think it's just unfortunate that we have to face off every season against the juggernaut as Manchester City. It's even if we do buy correctly in the summer, it's always going to be a challenge to face. I mean, you can see what they're doing against Real Madrid. They're taking Real Madrid right down to the wire. So I mean, the game tonight, I think, is going to be a very, very close game. And if you can challenge Real Madrid to that level, then all the other teams in the Premier League are going to struggle as well. But I do think we have the right manager. He's learned under Pep. I think if we get the right squad of players in, the one thing I do slightly disagree, and it's kind of slightly off your mission statements, but the one point I do disagree with you on, Tom, is on Rice. I don't rate Rice as highly as you do.
Okay.
In all honesty, I've never watched. I haven't watched all of West Ham's games, but from what I have seen, Rice, he's had 1 or 2 really good games, but then in other games he tends to kind of go missing, I feel, and I kind of question that if he's competing at the highest level, for example in the Champions League, is he going to be good enough to compete at that level? I know he's done well internationally, and that's the one thing in his favour, is that he's done well for England. So potentially he has competed at that level, and he can do the same thing for the Champions League. But I kind of feel as if there are better central midfielders out there that can replace Chaka. Caicedo for me is the one. That is the one priority that I want. I think if we're going to get one signing, it has to be him, because he's been consistent. He's been phenomenal for Brighton. He's a definite improvement. I think if you have him in your midfield, I mean, you saw what he did to us over the weekend, which I want to try and forget, but you can't deny what kind of a player he is. He's an amazing player. I do think we need 2 central midfielders, so if we can get Caicedo and someone else. But I don't feel as if Rice is the answer.
Okay, no, I think that's look. You're not the first person to come to me and say they've got their reservations about Declan Rice, and especially with the amount of money that's being associated with that transfer, it's an investment that you have to get right. So asking questions about it is absolutely fair. For me, I like Rice a lot because I think that he's shown, especially in the second half of this season, is the technical level that people I think maybe underestimated in his game. How he is on the ball, how he can progress the ball. I think he's in the last 2 months actually has been brilliant, which for us sucks because it's going to increase the price, on what we would have to pay potentially and give them a much stronger negotiating position. Consistency wise, are we going to be able to see, the world-class level of performances? I'm hopeful that we will. I think for England, he's absolutely a starter for England every time he plays. It's difficult to see a bad performance in those big competitions. He's always stood out for me. He's always played well in those big tournaments that we've played for England, which is the highest level he's been able to play at beyond the Premier League, obviously restricted by playing at West Ham. So we'll be interesting to see how they get on in the Conference League semis and maybe final as well. They've got that lead over RZ Alkmaar at the moment as well. So that'll be a good kind of litmus test too. But ultimately, we're only going to see proof in the pudding, as if we do indeed sign him, and if he comes in, either you'll be encouraged to say, you know what, maybe I was wrong, or maybe I'll be sitting here saying, wow, I really overrated Declan Rice. One of us will end up being enlightened to the either way of you. But thank you for your time. I've got a lot of people waiting, so I'm encouraged to get their thoughts on. But I really appreciate you jumping on, mate. I really do.
No worries, mate. Take care. Thanks, Tom.
Thanks, pal. Have a good one. Much appreciate for jumping on. By the way, those that are waiting, make sure you've got your cameras turned on. Otherwise, I can't prioritize you. I need there's a number of reasons why we have to have cameras. One being, of course, so I can do a visual check to make sure you're over the age of 18, which you need to be able to join the stream. Let's go to on my list was Wilson. Wilson, I've got you next, mate. How are you doing, my friend?
Good evening, Tom. Good evening, Tom. I'm good.
How on earth are we?
Well, for the first time on your channel, I'm wearing a tie because obviously I finished work, obviously, and
No, that's not the reason. You wore a tie because you were coming on the show. That's the only reason you've got a tie on. Tell me which one of the 3 points, if there is just one, or maybe there's more, that you're disagreeing with at the moment.
if I'm going to be completely honest, we need to be real. We need to be real. Nobody expected us to finish in the top 4 last season. We came close to being it. We came close to finishing in the top 4. And secondly, nobody expected us to be challenging for the title. We've done better than what we expected. I felt the signings of Gabby Jesus and Shevchenko have massively benefited the team, massively. Even though at times they were injured, at least they've shown their presence, on the bench and everything, blah, blah, blah. And a lot of people saying Arsenal have bottled it, this and that. To be honest with you, unfortunately, we're facing a juggernaut of Manchester City because they are experienced, they've got quality players, there's strength in depth. They're years ahead of us. And they got Haaland. Haaland, my word, he's taken them to a different level. I felt Arsenal have done very well this season, but I just felt in the last couple of weeks, I felt our complacency, silly mistakes have cost us big time. The Liverpool game, we threw it away. The West Ham game for me angered me the most, really infuriated me because what was Partey basically gave the ball away. Declan Rice capitalized on it, and West Ham just raised their game. It's just our silly mistakes that have cost us. And also, Tom, you pointed out about Arteta's in-game management. I've been banging on this drum for a month now. Arteta's in-game management has to improve, Tom. It has to improve. Like some of these substitutions, sometimes he doesn't make the right ones. Sometimes he doesn't. Sometimes he's not quick enough. They're too slow. I mean, on the other day against Brighton, why on earth was he taking 2 midfielders off for? It just weakened us as a result of it. In terms of the Brighton game, Tom, we were poor. Absolutely awful. Brighton outplayed us, and they were the far better team, and there's no excuses for it.
In the chat says, well done, Wilson. He will not win us the title. Do you think that that's true? Is EL quoting you correctly? Do you think Arteta is incapable of winning Arsenal a title?
I feel, if I'm honest, I feel like probably next season or the season after, we need signings. We need signings as far as I'm concerned. And I said this time and time again, we need at least minimum of 2 midfielders. We need 2 midfielders that will strengthen our midfield completely. I feel like we definitely will need another winger to help Saka out because Saka has been, Saka's been brilliant this season, but he's in the last couple of games, either he's tired or he's not in his best form. We need somebody to help him out because there's no way on earth that Chaka can be playing.
That you want and the forward that you want, and I assume the defenders that you probably want. Do you think he's able to get us to a title?
If I'm honest, I'm hopeful. I am hopeful. I am hopeful because I tell you why I'm hopeful because of the progression we've made, the type of football we're playing, and most of our performances this season has been brilliant. It's just unfortunately in the last couple of games, it's just we were panicking, silly mistakes, and our complacency have cost us really. And Arteta's game management has to improve in terms of his substitutions, the timing of them, etc., etc. And this bottle thing, come on now. I mean, come on. Like other rival fans are laughing at us. Why on earth are
What they
they
do,
laughing
though,
at us?
as
Because
we
they
would be
know.
laughing at them if they bottled things. You know, I talked about this on the
I
lounge
just
last night.
don't. I just don't understand it, Tom. It's
Well,
baffling.
the thing is, I understand it because if Spurs dropped out of top four, or if United blew a title,
Everybody will be laughing at them, Tom.
I'd be laughing at them because I'm an Arsenal fan. What I don't get is our own Arsenal fans determined to jump into comment sections and jump into chat boxes and say we bottled it. You know that I find it a bit strange.
Come
I don't
on,
think
man.
there's a
Come
clear
on.
reason for what happened.
It's baffling, Tom. It's absolutely baffling. How can some Arsenal fans, yeah? Hang on a minute, because that reminds me of something. There was one Arsenal fan I watched on the other day, one of the Arsenal fan TV channels, right? Believes that Arteta should go. Are they mad? What are they smoking over there? I mean, it just gets my head in, Tom. Arteta's been brilliant for the last as in nearly 3 years or so. We're progressing, the team's improving, our performances are getting better. For one of the Arsenal fans to have the gall to say Arteta should be going is ridiculous. It's ridiculous. We're only going to get better, Tom. And our and all of the other rival fans, they will not be laughing until next year. Believe me, they won't. And I'm not giving up any hope on Arsenal whatsoever. And I watched your video, I think it was this morning, and then on the other day, you were spot on of what you said. Absolutely spot on of what you said. Nobody should be taking that away from Arsenal because we've been brilliant. It's just unfortunately we virtually got beaten by a better team, which is Manchester City. Simple as that.
Thank you for your time. I think you've raised points really well. And, I'm glad that you're hopeful about the new season coming up and what we might do. I'm going to get a new caller on, but thank you for your time. I really appreciate it.
Anytime, Tom. Anytime.
Pleasure, my friend. Let's bring Onyx Lens, who's been waiting very patiently in our waiting list to come on. Onyx, how are you doing, my friend? You good? You well?
Tom, all good, man. How are you? Can you hear me okay?
I'm very good. We've had so many back and forths on Twitter over the years. It's nice to put a face to the Twitter account.
Listen, man, I love your work. I love everything that you do. I know sometimes, a lot of stuff may get, lost in translation with regards to, how it comes across.
Yeah.
But
Social media, mate, is what it does.
Hey, listen, no disrespect at all. I appreciate your hustle and respect it. I think, my only problem with Arteta is I think he's very talented. Like, that's clear. He learned a lot under Pep. I think we're in a good place with him. His floor is extremely high, but I just don't think his ceiling is a title. And I think it's for all of those reasons, Wilson pointed out in the last call. His substitutions. I mean, we've been dealing with this substitution issue since he came in. Like, you would think, I think it may have gotten a little bit better, but only because the quality of the team has gotten better. Does that make sense? So I think,
sense.
the options that, he's able to bring on have improved. That's the only real reason why I think that aspect of his coaching has improved. I think on the training pitch, it's clear that he can coach, right? And he can get the best out of some of these young players. But tactically, I think he's there. But the substitution deal, I think that's really just going to continue to hurt us. I'm willing to give him one more, solid window. Like, I'm really interested to see what he's going to do, because I think regardless of the credit people try to give to ownership or Edu, I think this is Mikel's deal. Like, this is his team. This is all about what he wants to do. He's running the ship. So I'm going to give him another window. I want Rice. I want Caicedo. Who's that kid that you were mentioning from Leipzig? I think we need a right back.
McCann, yes.
Yeah. I think he's nice. I've seen some of the YouTube clips of him. I think he's serious.
Always the best source of any footballer.
Listen, if Clyde can do it, I can do it. You know what I'm saying? So.
No, I know what you're saying. Let me push you on a point. In terms of the the ceiling wise of Arteta, the reason why I'm not where you're at with that side of things is because I think the substitutions thing is a really fixable thing for a coach that is learned through the seasons that they've been at the club. And that, as you said that you've noticed like a small improvement in his in-game management, like not enough, which is fine and I think fair. And, you know, from watching the channel, I've been critical of his in-game management, his substitutions and that. The reason why I think that his ceiling is that of a title is because of all of the evidence that suggests he's got the abilities as a coach to take a club there. The way in which he improves players on an individual level, I think is top. Like the way in which he transformed Granit Xhaka this season, the way in which he's improved players like Ben White, turning him into a right back and who's been arguably probably behind Kieran Trippier, the best right back in the league this season. I think if you look at what he's done with Saka, Martinelli, I think he's improved Zinchenko and Jesus since they moved from Man City and got more out of them. You know,
100%.
Odegaard's, you know, I mean, he's turned him into a goal-scoring machine at Arsenal, you know, breaking records potentially if he scores another in the next 2 games outside of a set piece. So, that on that individual level, I think his identification of talent alongside Edu has built a squad that is now second to Manchester City. And that's something that we have longed for at Arsenal for more than a decade, is a team that, you know, that we sign players that we need. We need a midfielder. They went and got Partey. We need a defender. We got Gabriel and then integrated William Saliba. We needed to add extra firepower in terms of the midfield and the forward line. We signed a player in Odegaard and then turned him into that. We've signed Martinelli for a good amount of money. Yes, it's not perfect. Yes, we've made mistakes in the market, but I think that the number of hits that we have compared to misses are way in the favour of the people that are making those decisions. And Arteta's, you know, a big part of that. I think the culture that he's instilled at the club, like the principles he has, the ruthlessness that he has, the moving out of Deadwood. You know, I think there's going to be players that move on this summer that might surprise people that they leave. They may not be happy about some of them moving on, but I think they may be surprised that they're moved on.
That's a really good point. That's a really
all
good
of those
point.
things, mate, are the reason why I see his ceiling actually at the moment. With what I've seen, I think he can take Arsenal to a title. So I'll let you go for gold, and then we'll move on to another caller. But I'll let you go for it, mate.
Yeah, no, I think you bring up a lot of great points. I just look at him almost like, you know, Fortune 500 companies that are in trouble, they hire these like turnaround managers, right? I'm scared that Arteta is, you know, someone who can come in, clean it up, fix the culture. He's talented. He can take you to a really high level, especially if he has players around him. And let's be honest, I mean, some of the players he has at his disposal, you know, and to your point, he's made them better. But Thomas Partey on his day is world class, but he's just been crap lately. I don't know why. Odegaard is world class. He's turned Xhaka world class. Saka. I mean, he has some players at his disposal. Now, granted, you know, he's turned a lot of them around. He's made them better, and he's gotten rid of a lot of dead wood. But that goes back to the point of, you know, is he a turnaround specialist? Can he right the ship, get you in the right direction, but then not be able to take you over the hump? And there's no shame in that. Like, that is like being able to just do that and do that at a really high level is extremely valuable. Like, I'm always gonna have love for Arteta just because I think that he's turned us around, and we only have a positive pathway to go, right? But I just think that it may be somebody else that can come in and take us over the hump. Now, you're the expert. I don't know who in the world that could be. De Zerbi's tactics look elite, but I can't say that I've analyzed him enough to give him a good shout. Hey, Tom, I love your work, man. I'm always going to follow you. Yeah, do your thing, man. And congratulations on the wedding. Take care, buddy.
Oh, thanks, bro. It's mad that it's still not been a year since that. But yeah, no, I appreciate your kind words, my friend. I really do. Thank you for spending your time with us.
Take care, buddy.
Thanks, mate. So in a bit, always a pleasure to speak. It's great, you know. I've been on Twitter for what feels like 7-8 long years, and Onyx is someone that I've had conversations with, never spoken to, and situations like this realize those points. Those that are in the queue at the moment, I have left messages in the private chat in StreamYard. Do make sure you look at that, and that's why Abdallah is going to be coming on next. I hope he's ready. He looks like it. Abdallah, let's get you on. How you doing, my friend? You good? You well?
Fine, and you, Tom? I'm good.
Yeah, very good. Thank you, mate. Very good. You've joined us. Tell me kind of the points you've seen there. You've heard, obviously, some of the discussions that we've been having as well. Tell me how you're feeling.
Yeah, I feel like this season is a pretty good season, and you can see the evolving the Mikel Arteta has made to us. I think it's great, but to say we bottled the league is stupid in my opinion, because we can bottle a league if we need 90 plus points to win it.
Mm.
And for me, the lack of depth we had in certain times of the season is because our summer window, yeah, we bring 3 players, 2 great signings, exceptional, but one, Fabio Vieira, is for me one of the worst signings of the season. I really can't think too many other bad signings apart from Richarlison. And I think
that is pretty bad. Yeah.
yeah.
No, Fabio Vieira has not been a success this season. You know,
No,
I can't
not at all.
disagree with you. He's on paper probably, besides Marquinhos, but he only cost £3 million, so it's difficult to include him. £34 million on Vieira has not been justified so far.
Not at all.
And you know, go on.
I think it's been very underwhelming because I watch a lot of teams, and I can name one Brighton player that is worse than Vieira. One, even Bonanote and Ciso, every Brighton player is better than Vieira. So I don't think was a good move, and I think the mistake of Arteta was forcing him to play, because if you watch the Bournemouth game when we lost, when we were losing 2-0, we didn't have any control of the game like we used to, and then when he came off, we started to become more fluid again, and I think we deserved that win. But Arteta made the same mistake and started him against Southampton, and we didn't look like controlling the game because he's too weak and too tactically. I don't think he understands the Arteta idea, and for me, he's not willing to put his body on the line.
So, just so I've got this clear, of this season, the biggest takeaway from a negative point of view for you is, other than obviously not winning the league, is the Fabio Vieira has been a big disappointment.
Yes, because it's 1/3 of signing.
Yeah, no, he is. That's fair enough. I think when you look at the signs we've made, Zinchenko, big success. Gabriel Jesus, big success. Matt Turner did okay when he came in. Not amazing. He's done all right. Marquinhos, young guy, youth signing, gone on loan. Vieira has not been a success. And I've said this before, and I think you'll probably agree with me, Abdullah, on this, is that for me, where Arsenal are now at the top and fighting at the top of the league, for me, players get 2 seasons max to prove that they are worthy of being in an Arsenal team. If Fabio Vieira next season, and whether he goes on loan or stays or whatever, I don't know what's going to happen. He has a season to show that he deserves to be here in that 3rd season. If he doesn't, he needs to be sold. Do you think that's probably fair?
Yeah, I think it's probably fair, but I seen enough from him, and he's not that in. He's 2 seasons to reach last year Emily Smith Road levels, because I'm a strength and conditioning coach and work in football, and he's such underdeveloped. It's crazy, and his touch, his technique is not at the highest level. It's not an Odegaard. It's not an Emily Smith Road. So I don't think he's gonna improve in such a period of time.
Well, I hope you're wrong. I'm sure you hope you're wrong as well. And we hope that Fabio Vieira succeeds, of course. But you raised some fair points. Abdullah, thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate you jumping on.
Sorry for my English. I'm from Chile.
No, absolutely. I think you smashed it, mate. You did really, really well, mate. Thank you so much for coming on.
Have a nice day.
Have a good one, mate. You too. Lovely stuff. Let's bring in next on my list. As I said, those that are waiting in the queue, use the private chat to raise what you disagree with of the points, and it lets me prioritize who needs to come on. And I see that Stephen has left me a message. Is Stephen still here in the chat? He's not, from the looks of things. So I'm going to get on NVR instead. NVR, how you doing, mate? You good, Joel? Oh, I can't. You need to. I'll take yourself off mute, mate. There's a little mute button down in the bottom left. Press that. There we go. How are you?
I'm great. I'm fine.
Good stuff. Look, you've seen obviously the 3 points. You've heard some of the things people have been talking about as well. Tell me kind of what it is you're not particularly in line with.
Just a second point. I would say we bottled the lead, but the thing is, when you say bottle, people instantly they just think of something else. So when you say bottle, they just instantly think, no. I think if we change the word to like throw away or we didn't get it good, I think people would agree. But what I just think is the word specifically. They don't like it.
Yeah, okay, I see what you're going with that. So if I change the words to Arsenal did not throw away the title, maybe people would get one. That's fair enough. I see you changed that. I still personally don't necessarily see it that way. Reason being, and I'll let you obviously respond to this, is that if Arsenal had won against Brighton and Southampton and West Ham and Man City still win their last 3 games, we still don't win the league. Like, they still have enough. They still win by goal difference. So that's why. Did you think about that? Did you consider that? Like, even if we'd have beaten Southampton, beaten West Ham, beaten Brighton, and Man City win against Chelsea, Brentford, Brighton, which they could do. They might not, but they could. They would still win the league.
I mean, we could have beat Liverpool too, and Southampton.
We could have beaten Liverpool. You're right.
Away, we throw away a lot of games. So.
But what I would say is that I just think that when you're going up against Man City, if we were talking about Arsenal going for top 4, right? Let's play it out like this. And Arsenal were going for top 4. And because we drew against Southampton and because we drew against Brighton and because we lost to Brighton and we drew against West Ham and drew against Southampton, and that cost us a top 4 place. And we were going up against United, Spurs, Chelsea, or whoever, Newcastle now for that top 4. I would absolutely turn to you and say, yeah, we threw top 4 away. Like I think we threw top 4 away last season. And we made some really big mistakes and we should have won games that we didn't, even though I think injuries were a big part of that. But this season, going up against Man City, I can't say to you that we threw away the league because ultimately, even if we won those games against West Ham, Brighton, and Southampton, and City go and win those next 3 games, because they're a winning machine that have won their last 11. They've won every single game since, I think, is it the Nottingham Forest's draw or the Man United defeat? One of those 2. And I just can't get on the side of we threw it away because of what we're up against. Do you know what I'm saying?
I can't get it. Yeah, the other thing I want to say is people, when you say, we had... through in, they instantly think you want to sack Arteta and everyone. I know. I don't think you think that. No. Okay. And that's really what I want to say. I just think the word bottle was the thing I think people didn't like.
Fair enough. I think it's a fair point. I think maybe more people would say we threw away the league rather than saying we bottled it. I think bottle is quite a provocative term. For people. But MVR, it's been an absolute pleasure to speak with you. Thank you for jumping on and taking the time.
Yeah, thanks.
No problem at all. Thank you, mate. Let's get on. I can see in my chat. Let's go to I can see MVR, and then it was Isoa's responded with, I disagree with our point number 1. Where's Isoa on my screen? Oh, he's gone. Every time I go to the next the person's gone. Let's go to Basha. How you doing, my friends? You good, Joel? You're on mute, my friend. That's 2 in a row now. Let's kick that mute button. Bottom left-hand corner.
All right, sorry, man. Yeah. Hi, Tom. How are you?
That's all right, mate. Don't worry about it. How are you?
Always good to see you. Yeah. Regarding
you said you disagree slightly with the first point, so tell me.
Yeah, I agree slightly. Yes, we did experience success, and guess what? If the results we had today this season were distributed differently, the Liverpool, Southampton, West Ham games were distributed all over the season, and were not consequent. We would have been looking differently at the season. Bottled or not bottled, that's semantics for me. We had a huge opportunity. The way I look at it is how have we developed from last season? our struggle, the race for the top four and the race for the league this season. I expected our players to show more maturity, considering that it's their second race. I know a title race is different but at the end of the day, you're racing against one or more teams, points versus each other. So that's the part I'm missing. I still saw the vulnerability, the mentality-wise, towards the end of the season. I was expecting much more enhancement on that track. Still, again, we have a young team, but although we've added some more experienced player this year, I didn't see that impact. We also have a young manager who has a lot to learn and to enhance. I'm a big believer in Arteta, so that covers your third point. However, I can't also help thinking about the last year's race and how we crumbled towards the end because of the injuries and the thin squad. However, it was our decision to go into this season with a thin squad, Tom. No one has forced us. On us.
Like it's,
yeah.
I think it's context, isn't it? Because I think that if you look at if say Arsenal's target, right? If Arsenal's target was to get to the top four this season, which I think all of us said that it was at the beginning of the campaign, that's what we thought we were going for. I don't think the squad's thin in that context. If you think that if you think the target is going for the league this season, then I'd agree. I think that in comparison to Man City, our squad is thin. But do you know what I'm saying? So yes, it was our choice to go into the season with a thin squad in the context of if we were targeting a title race. I don't think it was necessarily a thin squad for a team that was trying to qualify for the Champions League. Would that be a fair assessment?
Agreed. Yes. Yes, I give you that 100%. 100%. And I also, I'm a bit worried about I'm happy with the transfers. We've enhanced a lot on the transfers. However, I have a couple of question marks about our scouting. We ended up getting Sambi Lukonga and Vieira. And I'm also wondering, why is it only Arsenal new additions who need time to adapt to the Premier League? Why did it not Mitoma need time to adapt to the Premier League? Why did not Gnonto? The names are endless. Only the players that we get, we always end up with this argument. It's a Premier League and they need time to settle. I think we need to learn from those mistakes, the Vieiras, the Lukonga, and those sorts of guys. We need to add players, not just good in terms of football, in terms of mentality and character, and immediate impact. With all due respect, we've seen players come from Portugal, Italy, Ecuador even, and show us impact on the spot. We cannot afford to wait for a whole season for a player to achieve his the promise that we bought him for. So I'm a bit worried about our scouting. And all honesty, Modric even makes me more worried. Listen, Tom, Modric would have definitely been better in an Arsenal squad this second half, better than he's been with Chelsea. Is he a 90 million pound player? No, he's not. By all means, even if he joined us and they gave us a couple of good games this season, I worry about the fact that we were willing to pay 90 million for this guy. And I also worry about other similar incidents, like, for example, last summer transfer window, we go in for Rafinha, okay? We don't get Rafinha. What do? Do we get another right winger? No, we don't. We go in for a defensive midfielder and we don't get anyone. And then we're always the kings of the last day offer. And then on the last day of the transfer window, we go in for the Aston Villa guy. We go in for Modric. If we felt that the team needs a winger and a defensive midfielder in January, then going for Modric and paying all the money that we have for Modric, we would have ended up only with Modric. But then we get Trossard and we bid 70 for Caicedo. If we are that desperate for that position, then we should have been bidding for two proper players on the right, on the winger and the defensive midfielder from the beginning of the window. I'm not happy with our the way we move around the transfer window, Tom, and it makes me worried because, like you said, this coming window is going to be key. We need at least 5 big players, and we need to sell properly, like you said. So
These are 5 big players. This is sometimes I worry that we fall into a trap of expectation. I think when I say 5 big players, to me, the 5 players that we sign, and I agree with you, I think we need 5. Because I think we need 2 midfielders, I think we need a forward, and potentially 2 defenders. So all of those players we sign have to be competitive with the players that we have in the starting 11. So big players, to me, that's what big player means to me. I think that some people might misconstrue that to say 5 big players means 5 marquee signings. Now, marquee
not necessarily. Not necessarily. No,
cool. I just wanted to clarify that point.
No. A big player in terms of football, in terms of characters, in terms of grit and grinta. So someone in the comments was saying Tielemans and Zaha for free, for example. I'd be happy with Zaha. I'd consider Zaha a big player, for example, if we get Zaha, for example. It doesn't have to be big money, but someone that we know can fit and can give us the 18-man squad, 18 same level man squad that we can compete with.
Sure. Appreciate your time on the show. I think you've raised some absolutely fair points and a good discussion as well. Really appreciate it, my friend.
Thanks, man. Take care.
Always a pleasure. Speak to you soon. Much appreciate Bash's time on the show. Raised some really good points, and I agree with him. I think the transfer window this summer is going to be great. I think, yes, there are absolutely reasons to have some reservations about what we've done. Lokonga, Vieira, Tavares. Don't fill me with confidence, but you know what? Jesus, Zinchenko, Trossard, Erdegaard, Gabriel, Partey, all do fill me with confidence that there is a lot of good work that we do in the transfer window as well. And that's why I'm still very optimistic about what we might do this summer. I promised Isoa, who has returned to us, and his technical difficulties are hopefully well and good. Isoa, how are you doing, my friend? Good to see you as always.
Hello, Tom. How are you? It's been a while.
Yeah, very good, mate. Very, very good. Tell me, I think, is it the first point that you're contentious with? Is it the first one?
Yeah. I mean, all your points are well made, well thought of, but the first one but you can add context to each one, like caveats.
Absolutely.
I mean, the first point was Arsenal has experience. Of course, Arsenal have done well this season because last season we were not in the Champions League at all. We made it to Europa League, but then so this season is successful if you just isolate this season alone. I mean, like, this season will hinge upon what we do next season. We cannot isolate it alone by itself. Because, of course, this season, in the playback, I cannot hear you replying to me. I don't know.
No, I'm agreeing with you. I just said 100%.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, so because, I mean, if you look at the season where Leicester won it, they seized upon an opportunity and they won the title, right? And that's a fluke. That's not a fluke. It's a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. It's luck of the draw, miracle, whatever you want to call it. And if you look at Arsenal, that season, we could have added strength upon depth in the January transfer window. I mean, the Gooner talk was not alive back then. There was no live Gooner talk back then, or else I would have raised that point with you that time too. But I'm telling you, like, we didn't add upon it, so we lost that chance. And then we had the 2007-8 season, 15-16 season. And then this is the latest, what we can call as the latest title charge, correct? But I don't, this season cannot be seen as success unless we do something with it next season in the Champions League. If we progress through Arteta has, let's just say, the domestic cups, he's not done well with it, apart from the FA Cup. Yeah.
I mean, we got knocked out by Man City in the FA Cup this year, and obviously away from home at the Etihad. The League Cup was Brighton at home, who played. That League Cup game was like, for me, the League Cup, and I don't want to be that guy that discredits a tournament, but like, the League Cup has got to a stage where it's so far down people's priorities and clubs' priorities that, like, I barely use it as a measurable thing.
Measuring stick.
against
You don't use
manager.
it as a measuring stick, as a progress.
just
Man
don't.
United won it. Man United won it this
Yeah,
season.
and do you know what people said after they won it?
Yeah.
Like, I don't care. I couldn't care less that Man United won the League Cup. I really couldn't.
But Tom, don't you think that Arsenal? When was the last time Arsenal have won a mid-season cup that could spur the players on and give them extra motivation? With Man United, it's a different story because, I mean, if you look at Man United, they won at least a European Cup in the span that we won 4 FA Cups. So if you consider it, winning a cup is not a bad thing, no matter the prestige of the cup, Tom. So I
agree on that. And that's why it's always a danger of you discrediting a tournament. I didn't care that Man United won that cup because Arsenal were going for a league title this season. Like, it didn't matter to me. And I think that the FA Cup is different. The FA Cup to me is really important as a trophy, not only in Arsenal's history, but in English football as well. And I think that if Arsenal won the FA Cup, it's a great achievement that I would talk about always. However, the importance of this season and what you've done in your opening monologue was to highlight something really important. And it also links into what I believe about the, quote, success of this season. The success of this season is still very much dependent upon what we do with it in terms of going forwards to next season. We can't rest on it. We can't take it for granted. We have to go forwards. Do you know what I mean?
Exactly. Yeah, we cannot rest on our laurels because nobody will. I mean, okay, now we're living in the present, right, Tom? But nobody will remember this in the next 10 years. Nobody will say Arsenal came second. What an achievement. What a success it was.
If we didn't do anything with it. Yeah.
If we didn't do anything with it next season or the season upon. I mean, if we go to the Champions League and we know the Champions League has not been favorable, we didn't win the Champions League. Although if Barcelona get indicted, which is I'm praying for that, we could get our cups back. Champions League Cup. I don't know if that's true or not. The legal process with Barcelona, I don't know, with referees and all. I don't know if we can get
what's going on there.
Yeah, they're going through legal troubles, transfers, I don't know, whatever. But I mean, other than the final that we had with Henry, Champions League has not been favorable. And the odds of us winning the Champions League are not very high. It's very slim. But if we reach maybe the last 16, not the last 16, last 8 or last 4, that would be amazing. I'll grab that because we're still challenging. I mean, the same way we were challenging until the last 4 or 5 games of this season of the Premier League, we would be challenging if we have entered the knockout stages deep into the Champions League in the April, May, February months. So that's what I would want. I would want Arteta to hone in on the problems that he had this season, whether it was injury or the lack of form in some players that have dipped all of a sudden. Scan the players. I mean, like Holding, like you said, we cannot blame Holding because he's the 4th centre-back choice. I mean, now, since Arteta has seen that, I would like him to recognize that and just cover all his bases for next season till the 4th, 5th depth choice, because we don't want any excuses next season. I mean, Arteta, all these years, for 3.5 years, he's been with the club, and he had a lot of stuff to do to clean the culture and sell on players with the contracts terminated and stuff like that. Now, besides that one FA Cup, there has to be more titles alongside his name, even though if it is the Carabao Cup. At least he will have something in his name that says, all right, it's not just about the Champions League places, because we as Arsenal fans have experienced Champions League places for 20 years. And I will just give you a human side of it, Tom. I mean, us as supporters, we are there no matter what. But this is a new crop of players, a new manager, a new sporting director. The Cronkies are now outright the owners of the club. So we will be there no matter what happens to the club, right? But it does dent your spirit when you see the same mistakes, albeit with a new crop of players, a new identity of players, the times when we were in the Champions League, we were there, but we didn't really do anything with it. So right now, I look at it as going back to square one, because we have been there as fans. We have seen Arsenal in the Champions League. We have history with it, but we didn't really do anything with it. You understand me?
Mm.
So that's
yeah. No, I think
that's what. Yeah.
sorry, I'm listening and typing at the same time. It's a challenging task. But no, I hear what you say. I think that when it comes to Arsenal, as I've said before, this season will only, as you say as well, I'm not going to remember this season in 10 years if we didn't do something with it. It will go down as a season of a false promise, false potential, a what could have been type season. That's what it will be. So, it's for me always going to be about the context of next season and what this leads into. And and what I think this season has done is given me great optimism, for next season. It's given me great hope and great feeling of positivity about what this team is capable of if we add what we need to add, if we do, which is obviously another big if. And I'm sure there'll be plenty of phone-in shows over the summer window where we're talking about transfers. But at the end of the day, the word success for me, yes, it always comes down, as you say, to the context of what we do next year. But I see success in this season because we took that next step. We've taken that step forwards. We've progressed. And I don't buy you have to have won a trophy for it to be called a success, because if you were offering me 5th place in an FA Cup or this season, I'm taking this season all day long. All day long.
Yeah, I agree with you. How about not finishing second, finishing, say, 3rd, plus an FA Cup, plus with the contingency of adding upon what we're going to add this season? How about that?
Well, I think then you obviously add different kind of context to it. The point of the question is that the point of the question about 5th place and a trophy is it's designed to highlight that a trophy is not always success. If you offered me Champions League qualification, we build on it next season, and we've got a trophy this year, then obviously you lean towards taking the piece of silverware because you've got that, assurance that you've not only got Champions League football, but you're pushing forward to next season. But the point of offering 5th place and a trophy is to highlight that a trophy is not always what will determine a successful season if what you've done in that season pushes you on to potentially getting close to even bigger and better things. So thank you, mate, for your time. I've got half an hour left and 3 more callers to get through, so I appreciate you jumping
Your
on.
Tom, the hardest working man on YouTube. Have a great one.
Thanks, bro. I'll speak to you soon. Have a good one. Much appreciated. So it was time. Just for those that are waiting down below, I have been using the private chat throughout the call. For those that are involved, I've got time for 3 more callers who I have told who they are. So sorry that I haven't been able to get to everybody. It's just the way that it goes, I'm afraid. Unfortunately, there's a lot of people that are trying to jump onto the call. So thank you. And I'll be doing plenty more phone-in shows throughout the summer. I need to be wrapped up by 7:30. So let's crack on with Igal. Igal, how you doing, mate? You good, Joel?
I'm doing good, Tom. Hope everything's well. I just wanted to come on. Obviously, I don't listen to the people with the narrative saying the season's a failure, yelling and screaming that the season's a failure. But at the same time, I don't classify the season as an outright success because I don't view once the opportunity arose that we could win the league, that is massive progression based on the fact that we were challenging for the league. But I don't view progression in its own as success. I would have said if there was tangible silverware or something that we can walk away from the season and be like, that is something memorable that we can hold on to in the history books, then yes. But we really made no history. I would have wanted us to maybe challenge and try to go as far as possible in the Europa League and maybe try to win that in the case that we didn't win the league. Maybe we could have won a domestic cup, but the fact that we didn't get any tangible silverware with it or anything else to go with the title challenge, we're going to basically remember the season as the season where we pushed on. But next season, as the caller earlier said, if we don't go on to win it, this step will be viewed as one of many different seasons where we came close and didn't finish. It won't be viewed as success. So I really do believe the word success, the word bottle, these words, we're being very particular with words. As you know, I had an issue with another guy using another word to describe the players. I feel like the words that we use to describe this season, the way that we describe the players, basically identifies what type of fan we are rather than what we actually think. Because I would say you're more optimistic of the future based on the fact that you're using the word success, where I would say I'm trying to be more in the middle, where I would say, you know what, we've had progression, but I wouldn't classify it as full success.
Yeah, I mean, you keep using obviously words like full success or a complete success, and if you're using the terminology along those lines, I think then you're talking about the fact that we won the league. It's a massive success, a huge success. I'm seeing successes, within the progression that we've made this season towards those goals. That's what I'm considering a success in those terminology. So I completely see what you're saying, and I agree that the season's not been an outright success in the sense of what we wanted to achieve in the end was a title, and we've not done that. But do you see what I'm saying regarding the experience of the season that we go forward from here? We take that next step, and next season, the expectation is to get closer, even closer to potentially winning that title. I'll ask you this because I respect your opinion a lot, and I think you're a grounded person with the viewpoints that you bring up, Agal, in terms of the expectation. I often say that for me, whilst Man City are our opponents, I can never go into a season going, my expectation is to win the league. I can't expect that because of who we're up against. But what I do expect next season is a better challenge than we put up this season. Would that be a fair representation?
100%. But we also have to view where we are coming out of the transfer window. Because if we come out of the transfer window and we don't have a good window, it will make me question the direction that we're trying to head on to, because we cannot slow down. We have to now keep the pedal on the metal. And I trust the Cronkies, because what they've done in their other sports, that they're going to do it with Arsenal. There's a window of opportunity we have with these players, and we need to reach it. And in order to reach it, we need more experience, more strength and depth, more quality. And the goal is to get to Man City's level. But similar to how Man City needed to get the Aguero moment, similar to how other clubs needed that moment Liverpool needed the Champions League, I think we need a moment of tangible success where we can say, you know what, this is where we push on. And that's where I'm hopeful that we can win a domestic trophy next season and try to go as far as possible in Champions League. I'm not delusional to think we're going to win the Champions League. I think quarterfinals, semifinals would be very successful. I think round of 16 would be realistic based on the fact that we might be in pot 3. And in the league, if we don't challenge again, we at least have to be number 1 or number 2. We can't be like dropping down the pecking order to challenging for top 4 again. That is what I would deem I wouldn't say unsuccessful. I would just say that's what I would deem as a regression.
If we go backwards, I think it's unsuccessful. Like I can't justify success in going backwards. Do you know what I mean? Like we have to challenge the title next season. Like that's what we can't turn around and say we've overachieved this year by challenging for the title, and then next year if we don't then challenge for the title, that because we overachieved this season, we were never expected to do that soon. It was always natural that we go back. No, we can't do that. Like we have to always, as the club says, as its new motto is, always forwards. We have to be 100%. Go in that direction.
And I'm just going to wrap up with one last thing. Squad depth. Please, if we do anything this season, going into next season, we need to have the squad depth ready to compete on all fronts, because Champions League is not Europa League. We won't be able to rotate as much. That's the final thing that they should address, because I know you probably seen all the rumors about the transfers. We need at least 5 quality players, and if you can get a 6, that'd even be better. But thank you for having me, Tom.
No, always a pleasure, mate. Always a pleasure to chat with you. Thanks for your time. See you soon. Much appreciated, Gal. You can check out his channel. He's got his own YouTube channel. You should definitely give it a watch. Next on my list, penultimate guest of the evening is Shanor. How you doing, Shanor? You good, you well?
Yeah, I'm good. Could have been better had we been in a position of strength to win the league. So let's start with your first point. I want to actually talk about all 3 very, very quickly. So, Tom, Arsenal have experienced a season of progress. I don't think it's been a success. I think it's been a season of progress. To quantify success, you need titles, you need trophies, you need silverware, even if that's a Carabao Cup, even if that's the Community Shield. But you need something at the end of. But you need something to keep the players happy and motivated, because and the narrative, since it is to the point number 2 that a lot of people are saying that we've bottled the league or the title. So obviously at a certain point, it could negatively affect the players. But if we deep into recent history, what we've done is last season, people said we bottled the top 4 place and we'd never have a better chance at top 4 again, playing 1 game a week. This year, we got top 4, and we not only got top 4, but we actually challenged for the title. So I think the mentality is there from the players, but I still think that not winning a trophy, even if it's the Europa League, if we targeted the Europa League instead of the league, get top 4 and then go for Europa League, I think that would have been a successful season filled with progress. So we've had a season of progress, but we haven't had success. Now, to your point number 2 about Arsenal did not bottle the league.
We'll go to point number 2. Let me ask you point number 1. Otherwise,
sure.
I'm going to ask you the question. My question. James Curry in the chat box is having nightmares about. If I offered you 5th place and the FA Cup or this season, what would you pick?
Absolutely, this season. We've won the FA Cup so many times.
Doesn't it come across like a big contradiction to say that like an FA Cup is a cup, a silverware is success, but you've picked the route where you said we've not had success over what you then said was success. Do you see what I'm saying?
No, I understand your point, and yes, but everything isn't so black and white, Tom. Because you need progress in a certain way to have success. Had we not won a trophy for 8 years, which we didn't, we went through a trophy drought and we got top 5 if we finished 5th and we got a trophy, which is the FA Cup. In that context, that season would have been a success because we needed a trophy first. But this season was about, obviously, getting top 4. In that sense, yes, it's progress, but I'm not going to quantify it as success because we showed that we can do more. We showed that we can win around 30 games this season. And when we can do that, then obviously at the end of the day, you prefer to have won something, to have shown that you've also progressed. I'm just thinking from a player's perspective, when they look back at this season, whether there's going to be more regret or more happiness at the end of it. And whether that regret turns into something of a scar, which mentally hurts them later on, because this is 2 seasons in a row people have said we've bottled it, whereas I don't think we've bottled it in a single season, which is why I was coming to my point number 2 that
you're a presenter in the making. Go for it.
I've done radio shows for about a decade in Bangla, though, in my native tongue. So we did not bottle the league, but as you said, that injuries, Manchester City winning and winning and winning, that created pressure. And what do you call bottling? You call bottling losing when you know you can win this. Losing it from a position of winning. The fear of not winning, gripping over, and then you actually failing from a position of strength. If we go by definition, I don't have a dictionary up in front, but I guess this is as close as it gets.
Yeah. In the Webster's dictionary, but yeah, go on.
Yeah, and then what we've done this season is, to a certain degree, the pressure that Man City has put on us has caused us to wilt. I'll give you the last match as an example. Brighton. Had that match happened before the Man City game, I'm telling you, Tom, the chances that we missed in the first half, we probably take a few of those. Yes, on another day we win it. And I personally felt that you could even feel like I was hearing what Charles Watts said after the match in his video, that you could feel in the stadium that there was a sense of disappointment that Man City had won against Everton and another step closer to the title, and that sort of sucked the life out of the fans to a certain degree, and who were in the stadium, and probably that affects the players as well. So that is pressure. And that pressure, but I don't want to call it bottling. That's a very harsh word. You don't bottle the league against Manchester City, who get 92 points minimum every season. Apart from the 1 season or 2 seasons, Pep Guardiola has an average of 92 points per season throughout his managerial career. That is insane, which is why I consider him the greatest manager of all time. That's a debate for another day. I know Sir Alex Ferguson comes into the mix as well. But yeah, so now that we've discovered the machine that is Pep and Manchester City, we've discovered it, because previously we've never had to battle them one-on-one. We've never been in the title race against Pep Guardiola's Manchester City. Now that we've discovered it, now we know what it is, how it feels, and it's difficult. So winning the Premier League, for me, is the toughest thing in world football right now, even tougher than winning the Champions League, because you need 90 plus points to win it. 90 points, that means you need to win 30 matches. Maybe. and so Arsenal, at the end of this season, I hope that before I come to point number 3, that they spend on the right players, because we need a squad that's like City squad, not big in numbers but massive in quality. You can change 5-6 players a match and they can come in and they can keep the same level of performance. and they can keep the same level of dynamics about the whole play. And since we are a juego de posición, a positional play team, so we need players that are versatile on multiple positions, like a Moises Caicedo, who can come in and do a job and do it to a very high level on certain positions.
Take it over, mate. He's brilliant.
No, man, it's your show. So that's my point number 2.
Moises Caicedo can come in and take over. Like he's that good. He's that good.
Yeah.
So the third point.
Yeah. So to the third point, you know what? I agree that Mikel Arteta is one of the best things. I'll say one of the best things to have happened to Arsenal in the last decade. But who got Mikel Arteta into this job? People want to say KSE out. People want to say Kroenke's out. It's the silent stand. He was silent.
Yeah, the best thing to happen to Arsenal in the last decade plus. Is that what you're about to say?
Hear me out. So
I'm preempting it. Go on. I love this. Is great. Go on.
Yeah, because at the end of the day, if not for the Kroenkes, this whole system that's in place right now doesn't happen. And you see other teams like Chelsea, Lampard was talking about. Before that, I think Potter was talking about it, that Arsenal are the sort of team to follow if you want to follow a process and go straight to the top. We are going straight to the top, and we followed a certain process. Previously, it was Liverpool. People were saying that, see how they do it with a less budget than Manchester City. Now they're talking about Arsenal because we've also added a youth project on top of it, and we're doing it in a certain way where other teams are taking notice. And I saw a lot of people prior to me coming on talking about Brighton and their players. I completely disagree. I don't think Mitoma took one game to come into the Premier League and do well. Or the same doesn't apply for any of their players that came in and just did well. You don't watch every single game in Brighton. De Zerbi has a win percentage of around 50%. Would you take De Zerbi over Mikel Arteta, even though De Zerbi is brilliant with some of his tactics?
I mean, if Arteta for some reason turns terrible, he'd probably be my next in line. But I wouldn't swap them. No.
I wouldn't say that De Zerbi would be. He's the coach that I'll tell you what. He's the flavor of the month or the flavor of the season at the moment, because
he was so good before though. Like if you watch what he did at Sassuolo, you can see
what was their win percentage.
Philosophy was, you could see what the plan was. You could see what was going to happen with Brighton. You could see that what Potter had achieved at Brighton was going to go to the next level with De Zerbi's style. He lives and breathes progression, energy, get the ball back as soon as possible. And I think, I worry that Liverpool will end up getting De Zerbi to replace Klopp.
Good for them. Good for them. Good for them. De Zerbi's never had a big club to manage. I know the same can be said for Mikel, but Mikel has shown that he can manage a big club, and he can manage a big club and exceed their expectations, which is give us a title fight. De Zerbi, I love his tactics. I love how he's playing out from the back. I love how even Pep Guardiola is influenced by Roberto De Zerbi. Pep Guardiola is also influenced by Mikel Arteta this season by playing 4 centre-back types at the back 4. People don't talk about that. People talk about how De Zerbi's influence in Premier League. Mikel Arteta's done that this season. People don't talk about that. I appreciate what De Zerbi does, but he's never had a higher win percentage of more than 50 in any of the clubs he's managed. De Zerbi will lose a lot of games. He will, because that's just his high risk, high reward system. And I haven't seen De Zerbi change much according to the opposition. You don't get slapped 5-1 by Everton one match and then win the next game 3-0.
Yeah, under Arteta, we don't change too much towards the opposition. We kind of focus on ourselves.
Yes, to a certain extent, I agree. But also, I think that we've evolved a lot under Arteta right in front of our eyes. We played with the back 5 when we first started under Arteta. We had a completely different squad. And now we've changed, we've evolved our squad. So let Arteta cook. I think we're in phase 3 right now out of phase 5.
Don't get it twisted. I don't want to swap them.
I understand. Yeah. So, sorry, I think we went off topic a little bit.
No, it's fine.
But the key aspect here is you need to give the owners credit. Them taking full ownership is one of the best things to have happened to our club, for sure, along with Mikel Arteta. Ever since they've taken full ownership, they've spent in every transfer window. They've looked to buy good players. Yes, they've made mistakes, but that's not entirely on them. as much as it is on some of their experience and inexperience, and they've learned from it. They've gotten rid of Raul Sanyehi. They've gotten rid of Sven Mislintat. They've given Edu the role. They picked Arteta, Edu with Vinay Venkatesham. Everybody's got a certain synergy, along with Mertesacker as well. The club has a particular synergy which it never did. And yes, you can say Mikel Arteta gets 50% of the credit, but I'll give 30% of the credit to the owners as well, and the rest 20 to the rest of them. But that's how I feel, that yes, he's one of the best things to happen.
I think you raise a very, very fair point. You know, if it weren't for the Super League chaos, you know, I think that we'd probably be, you know, that you'd look at that post 2018 situation and go, well, not faultless, but you know, it's pretty much close to what you'd want the owners to be doing beyond spending even more money. But we've seen what that can do to a club like Chelsea,
Tom,
and not necessarily equal success.
Absolutely, I completely understand why we'd want to be in the Super League. If there's a top tier league happening somewhere,
I understand absolutely. And if it would have happened, I understand why they did what they did. It was just the way that the whole thing went about. It could have been done far
worse has happened in football already.
Sorry?
Worse has happened in football already. You have state-owned clubs. The fans aren't the be-all and end-all in football.
Right, but what I think fans showed is during that period is that they certainly should be and can be, and that's one of the big reasons.
Absolutely, but there have been times where they haven't been counted, and bigger things have happened, bigger decisions have gone through. I'm telling you, Tom, if money wasn't involved in this, Super League brings you money, but if Premier League and the changes that UEFA made, if they didn't change up and they didn't increase the amount of money the bigger clubs would be getting, this thing could still happen. This thing could still happen.
I'm almost certain that the Champions League is merging into something that it will basically be akin to the Super League anyway. So, Shanor, I'm very conscious of the time, and I've still got one more.
Absolutely. We've got 8 minutes left.
You managed to go through all 3 points, and I think you've smashed them. So, thank you.
Before I leave, I just want to say that thank you to Granit Chaka for the service that you've given. The news broke a few hours ago. Him leaving, obviously, and I think we spoke about it on Twitter as well, that I do see us probably parting ways with Chaka and Partey and probably redoing the whole midfield. That's another topic for another day. Looking forward to having more of these live shows with you. Do this on a weekly basis, Tom.
I wish I had the time, but I'll try throughout the summer window, mate. I will try. Thank you for coming on, mate. I really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Massive appreciation to Shanor, and a massive appreciation to the most patient man in the Arsenal community. It's Albert. Thank you. I'm sorry that we've only got 5 minutes now because I need to be off.
Tom, 5 minutes is enough. Don't worry about it, man. Don't worry.
Tell me where your head's at, mate. You've been sitting and listening to obviously a lot of what people have had to say and stuff. So tell me where your head's at.
When I saw you put mission statement, I thought, oh God, what's he put now? Oh my God. Right. So Tom, you know what? For me, it's been a massive progressive season. Success, I wouldn't say, because I would have said success if we've been, you know, come the end of May, you know, we pick up that beautiful trophy again after a 20-year hiatus. So, but Tom, it's not necessarily a negative thing to say that it's been a massively progressive season. And if we won our last 2 games, and if we'd beat Brighton, we would have matched the points total from the Invincibles, which is quite remarkable when you kind of think about it.
I mean, I'm pretty sure. No, sorry, go on. I've just got to do some research. I'll come back.
That's all right. Yeah, I think we got 90 this season, didn't we? Where am I now? Completely lost now. No, I'm not.
Success, failure.
Yeah, so a very, very progressive season, because the main thing I said, Arsenal would get top 4 this season. I know my exact words were, we would just get top 4, finish ahead of Spurs. Those were my exact words, Tom. But Arsenal have done better than that. They've obviously got back into Champions League, finishing second, and mounting a title challenge. Nobody saw that in the metrics or the KPIs, whatever words you want to use or phrase you want to use. Nobody saw that. So an extremely progressive season, but not success for me, Tom.
I found out what I was researching. If we win our last 2 games and we end on 87 points, that will be the same as the double winning season of 2002. So
good stat. I knew I could rely on you, Tom. I knew I could, man. But yeah, the whole bottle thing, I don't want to spend too much time on it, Tom, because I just find it tiresome. And actually, it seems to be a lot of rival clubs that keep mentioning that word. It's either bottling or it's failure. And I agree with what you said earlier in the stream, throughout the course of how long the stream you've been doing it for, is when between your own fans are having countless conversations calling your team bottle jobs and failures, that's a bit of a concern. I've got to be honest with you.
Odd behaviour, mate, is what it is.
It's very odd. Because we've been crying as Arsenal fans to see Arsenal being competitive and challenging. And to me, you can't have it both ways, because if you're going to praise Man City and call them the juggernaut and, you know, the Sharks and whatever else you want to call them, you know, they're a very, very good side. They're more than a good side, actually. They could potentially do the treble. So it's just a shame Arsenal have run out of petrol in the tank, Tom. That's the best way I can describe it. I think mentally, I think the team's been gone for a while, if I'm being honest. And I thought the result against Brighton was a culmination of the last 4 or 5 weeks, to be honest, mate. And sort of to your last point, quickly, because I know you're on a time slot, Tom. Great, yeah. So to be fair, Tom, I think it is easy to say he is the best thing that's happened. One, because let's be honest, as Arsenal fans, we haven't had a lot to cheer about. Yes, you might count the FA Cups in between that, of course you can, but in terms of an Arsenal fan and what we've been used to in terms of standards and what we've won before, it's not been great. But people talk about culture change and getting the right players in and moving players on, and he's been a huge part of that. In terms of league title talk, and we spoke about this, Tom, on your beautiful, fantastic honeymoon series. I remember it very clearly.
Yeah.
And I said I couldn't see him win a league title with Arsenal personally. Because I say that because people speak about the age of the squad, and sort of off the top of my head, the back at then, you know, I thought in terms of Arsenal challenging for a league title, I thought there's about 3-4 years off of it. It's happened.
The Arteta now competing. Do you see him winning a title at Arsenal?
Oh, I'm going to say no, Tom, and I'm only going to say that because I think it's dependent on can we manage being back in Champions League football and pushing for a league title, and on top of that, it'd be interesting to see what happens in terms of dynamic with Liverpool, the dynamic with Chelsea, what's going there. I think that, and Ten Hag obviously having a season under his belt, I think that's massive key factors. Because I think a lot of people's gripe in terms of the league title, Tom, obviously us not getting it over the line, was the fact that we went out of both domestic cup competitions quite early, and obviously getting knocked out by Sporting Lisbon in the Europa League. So having one game a week and being in a position we were, missed opportunity, Tom. Missed opportunity is the key word.
Just a 30-second question. If we added let me throw a hypothetical scenario. Add Rice, add Caicedo, add a forward, add 2 defenders. And when I say add players without naming them, I'm talking about players that compete with the existing starters that we've got. Then do you think Arteta could win a title?
Yes.
Okay.
Because
that's where I'm at. That's if Arteta's not backed, no, I don't think we can.
100%.
If we get what we need and what we can all see we need, I think we can. Albert, thank you so much for being so patient and then for accepting such a short slot as well. I really do appreciate it.
It's all right, Tom. Thanks, man.
We'll do a show exclusively together, mate. Don't worry. We'll jump on.
I'll look forward to it, Tom. I'll look forward to it.
Cheers, bro. I'll speak to you soon.
Take care, bro.
Have a good one. A massive thank you to Albert and all of our callers for today's show. I have got now to shoot. I've received several messages from the missus saying, when are you getting off the show? So, you know, you're in trouble and I have to move. So, but thank you, everybody that's tuned in. Thank you to everybody that's jumped on and given their points of view. I think it's been successful. I think we've had a really good chat, some really good points, some really good debates, well made. And I look forward to the next one. I'll probably be doing another phone-in show when the season's finished and we've had a greater chance to kind of know where we're definitely at. And I'm sure we'll do further phone-in shows throughout the transfer window as well. So make sure you're subscribed. If you follow me at the Gooner Talk TV on Twitter, I usually tweet when we're doing that. I warn you off turning notifications on the Twitter account because I get into arguments with people and you don't need to see that coming up on your notifications. But thank you for listening. I will see you tomorrow morning, bright and early, 8 a.m. to bring you the next edition of the Arsenal News Show. But other than that, it's been an absolute pleasure. I'll speak to you soon. Have a fantastic Tuesday evening. Let's hope that Milan can make a bit of a game with it tonight. And as always, up the Arsenal.